2 times 5. That's going to give us. That's going to go in. And then from here, we're going to cross multiply. So when we say cross, that means diagonal. We're going to say 5 times 1. The 2 values that we got over here, insert into our. Now, because we're dealing with addition, order doesn't matter. So if you wanted to put the 2 first and the 5 second, it doesn't matter. You're still going to get the same answer. And then from there, you just simplify. So 5 plus 2 is 7. And then we just bring our 10 over. All right, so one thing you have to remember with fractions, whether it's stated or not, fractions always have to be simplified. So when we say simplify, basically you need to look at the final values that you have and ask yourself, can I divide these values by the same number to make the values smaller? If the answer is no, like in this case, 7 and 10 don't have anything in common, so we can just leave them like that. Then you just leave it as is. But let's just say, for example, if our answer happened to be 8 over 10, right? One trick that I like to tell people is that even if you're not really that great with like finding greatest common factors, you can use small things, foundational things that you know about numbers to help you to simplify. So I know that 8 and 10 are both even numbers. And I always tell people, if you have 2 even numbers and you don't have a clue what value they have in common, you can always simplify by 2. Any even number is always going to be divisible by 2. So I can say 8 divided by 2. And I can say 10 divided by 2. All right, and that's going to give me 4 up top and 5 on the bottom. So this is an example of simplifying. Basically what we're doing is we're just making the values smaller. So simplifying is a skill that you have to know for this exam. Now, I see a lot of people like stressing about it. It's not something that you need to stress about. Like, it's not to that extent that you're going to have 3, 4, or 5 questions dealing with fractions. That's not how this exam is designed. But out of the questions that you see, it's a possibility that you have to simplify. So make note that it's something that you need to work on. But the extent to which people have been stressing, from what I can see, is not warranted. It's not one of those skills that's like a super big deal like that. Okay, everybody following me so far?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Hi. Okay, so when we multiply the 2 times 5 to equals 10, is that the easier way rather than trying to find the lowest common denominator?
So it just depends on the person. I have found over the years that is more straightforward for people who don't know how to find the least common denominator. But if you're someone who has already mastered doing that, then I would say stick to that. Now, in this case, 2 and 5 did give us the least common denominator 10 was the least common denominator between 2 and 5. But when we multiply across, it's always going to give us a common denominator. Sometimes it's going to be the least, sometimes it's not. It just depends on what the values are. But I just know this is more straightforward. Multiply across the bottom, cross multiply, simplify. You know, versus trying to say, oh, what's the smallest number they have in common? Some people haven't mastered that thought process. So that's the only reason why I don't teach it that way.
Okay, thank you.
I do have any other questions? And if you guys don't be scared to ask questions, because that's the whole point of us doing the review, is that you guys have the chance to ask the questions directly. So you're not struggling. No questions? So if I give y'all a question to do by yourself, y'all gonna be able to answer?
Yes.
Yes?
Jakara, I might have I need a refresher on
Danielle and Brian submitted Chris's card.
Oh wait, I couldn't hear. I think 2 people are talking at one time, or somebody's. Make sure you guys mute your mics, please, so we can hear whoever's.
And then their cats are on the back.
All right, what was the question? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
after Jakara, this is what I was wanting to know if on the fractions, can you go over doing the borrowing subtraction fractions?
You said borrowing?
borrowing from the whole number.
Oh, so you're saying like if
Not-
we have like a whole number minus a fraction, like something like that?
Yes. And you
Okay.
go there before you finish and going on to before you go to something else. So I'm just making sure you put that in the review.
Will do.
Thank you.
All right, so let me give y'all, do one more where we'll actually have to simplify it, and I'll let y'all do one on y'all. All right. We'll say, we'll just say 4 nights. All right, so remember, when you're doing math, always lock in on the process. The process is the how-to. Don't worry about the numbers, but you should know, or you should create a trigger in your mind that says, when I'm adding fractions, I need to do this. The same way every time is not going to change. What happens is people are trying to find more than one way to solve a question, and it just wastes time and it confuses you. So if you lock in a particular process, you will be more successful than not. All right, so first things first, butterfly, we multiply across the bottom. You see how that didn't change from the first question to the second question? It's the same exact thing. So 3 times 9 gives us 27. So we know that goes to the bottom. All right, and then we are going to cross multiply. All right, so we're gonna say 9 times 2 or 2 times 9, 15. And then we're gonna say 3 times 4 or 4 times 3, however you want to do it, because order doesn't matter with multiplication. That's gonna give us 12. All right, then we're gonna take our values and we are going to add them in. We'll say 18. And then on the opposite side, we have 12. All right, and then from here, we're going to simplify. So 18 plus 12 gives me 30. And then we're gonna bring our 27 over. All right, what's the problem here? What's the problem in this situation? What type of fraction is this?
I'm sorry, I have a quick question.
Yes.
I thought the lowest common denominator would be 9.
So when the method that I'm teaching here, we're finding a common denominator. So when you do butterfly, it's a common denominator. It's not always gonna be the least common denominator. So if you have already mastered finding the least common denominator, don't do it like this. I don't want you to teach yourself. Yeah, don't teach. This is more so if you haven't mastered. It's just easier.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right, so it's been noted that this is an improper fraction, right? And we know that this is improper because the number at the top is bigger than the number on the bottom. And this is the problem because you can't leave this in this particular form. So anytime we have an improper fraction, we have to convert it to a mixed number. And a mixed number is just a whole number and a fraction together. All right, so 2 different ways you can approach this. It definitely just depends on preference. You can try to see if your fraction can be simplified first, right? Before you convert it, or you can convert it and then simplify it. But in this case, we're going to simplify first. So I have 30 and I have 27. So remember I told you if I have 2 even numbers, I can divide by 2, but the problem is that 30 is even and 27 is odd. So I know that I can't divide by 2, but I do know that 30 can be divided by 3 and 27 can be divided by 3. So I'm gonna simplify by 3. All right, and the more you practice, the more you'll become familiar with, which values can be divisible. It just takes practice. I think a lot of people are always looking for like shortcuts and they just want it to be so instant, and it doesn't work like that. With math, is a gradual learning process. And if you try to skip that, you're not gonna retain anything. So that's why I tell people like, you gotta do the work, you can't skip the work. 30 divided by 3 gives us 10. And then 27 divided by 3 gives us 9. All right, so of course, we're still improper. We just simplified it down. So now we're going to go from an improper to a mixed number. So remember, for this exam, you guys have a 4-function calculator that's built into the exam. So don't stress about doing the math by hand, okay? All right, so an easy way to convert from improper to mixed number is through long division. So I know a lot of people kind of still struggle with this topic as well. All right, so if we do long division, 10 over 9 is the same thing as 9 on the outside, 10 on the inside, right? All right, so we're gonna ask ourselves, how many times is 9 going to 10? Now you can use your calculator and that'll give you the whole number as well. Matter of fact, let me show my calculator. All right, so you guys see the calculator. So if I say 10 divided by 9, you see how we have this 1 here? That leading value, don't worry about what's behind the decimal, but you see this whole number 1 here? That's how many times 9 can go into 10, right? So if you don't want to do the actual math, you can always lean on your calculator. So this 1 is what we're going to put at the top of our division problem. All right, so we put the 1 up top. That comes from our calculator, right? And then we're going to say 1 times 9, which gives us 9, and we are going to subtract that. All right, we're going to have 1 left over. All right, so ours is going to have 3 numbers we're dealing with. So whatever number is up top, this is our whole number and our mixed number. All right, whatever number is left at the bottom, this is going to be the top of the fraction. Excuse my stylus. All right, and then the number on the outside is always going to be the bottom because the bottom doesn't change. All right, so if we look at how we label everything, we know that 10/9 is going to be 1 because that's our whole number. All right, and then 1 up top of the fraction because that's the top of the fraction, and then 9. So 1 and 1/9. All right, and that's it. So you can use your calculator to help you through that particular space, or if you know how to do long division by hand, you can do that as well. It doesn't really matter. Definitely up to you. So this is what I want you guys to remember. When we're doing operations with fractions, if you can get through the first half of the process, right? So let's just say you can get all the way to 30/27. What that means is that you know how to add fractions because you want to be clear as to where your skill level is. If you cannot get from 30/27 to 10/9, that doesn't mean you can't add fractions. What that means is you need to work on doing what? Reducing fractions, right? You always want to make it very clear to yourself because it's easy to trick yourself into thinking you don't know what you're doing. All right, and then if you can't get from, say if you can get here to 10/9, but you can't get here to 1 and 1/9, that means that you don't know how to convert from improper to a mixed number, which still doesn't mean that you don't know how to add fractions. It's just a sub skill that you need to work on. So when you guys look at these questions, always be able to decipher the difference between each part of the process. So you know when you're practicing where your weak area is. That's the only way that you can grow, is if you understand based out of all 3 things we just completed, which part of this process is giving me a problem, right? And then based on that problem, what is the resolve? We're always looking for resolve. All right. Any questions before we move on? I'm about to give y'all some practice questions since everybody's so quiet. That's making me think that everybody knows what they're doing. So do we have any questions? No? Good deal. All right, so I'm going to put a question up here and then you guys are going to put your answer in the chat below and we will go from there. So we'll start simple and then we'll gradually go up to a little more complicated. All right, so let's say 2/5 plus 1/9. All right, drop your answers down below for me, please. All right, let's check in. Let's see how you guys did. So I see everybody has the same answer, so we're going to assume that that's the correct answer. So let's get to it. So if you guys are given a problem, just say if you're on your exam and this is the question, lock in your process. Even if it's not the same way that I'm doing it with butterfly, if you know how to find least common denominator, understand what your process is and do not abandon it. Same thing every single time. So if we're butterflying, we know we're going to create our fraction on the opposite side, and we have 3 steps. Always going to multiply straight across the bottom. That's never going to change. I don't care what numbers they give you, how big, how small. All right, that's the bottom of our fraction. All right, second thing we're going to do is cross multiply. That means go diagonal. So we're going to say 2 times 9, or if you want to do 9 times 2, order doesn't matter. 2 times 9 gives me 18. And then we're going to say 5 times 1, which gives me 5. All right, and then we're going to add our values in there. So we're going to say 18 here, and then we're going to say 5 here. All right, and then from here, we're just going to go ahead and simplify. 18 plus 5 gives me 23. All right, bring the 45 over. So you always want to check your final answer to see if it can be simplified. I know that 23 and 45 don't have anything in common. So this is our final answer. Final answer. All right, so good job, everyone. Good deal. All right, let's make it a little more complicated. Let's make it a little harder. Then we'll move on to subtraction, which, by the way, is the same thing. Instead of adding, just subtract. All right, let's see. All right, let's go. 5, 6 plus 2 fourths. All right, so I see everybody has the same answer. So let's hope and pray that that is the correct answer. All right, so remember, process doesn't change. Don't allow the size of the numbers to make you feel like you don't know what you're doing. All right, so first things first, I was gonna go ahead and create that fraction on the opposite side. And then from there, we're gonna do the math. So we're gonna multiply straight across the bottom because that's what we do. We're looking for a common denominator. So 6 times 4 is going to give me 24. All right, and then from here, we are going to cross multiply. So we're gonna say 5 times 4, which gives me 20. And then we're gonna say 6 times 2, which gives me 12. All right, and we're gonna add our values in. So we're gonna say 20, and we're gonna say 12. All right, and then from here, we're gonna simplify. 20 and 12 give me 32. And we're gonna bring the 24 over. All right, so when you see this, you should have a mental trigger that lets you know this is the problem. Why is this a problem? Because the number at the top is bigger than the number at the bottom, which means this is improper, and we need to simplify it down. So remember, as a disclaimer, if you made it here, you know how to add fractions. So let's make that part clear. You can add fractions. If you couldn't make it past here, that's okay, because we can always fix it. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and simplify it down first. So remember, 32 and 24 are both even numbers, so I can divide both of those down by 2, and you could just keep going and going and going until you can't anymore. But since we have limited time, I know that the largest number that can go into 32 and 24 is 8. All right, so I'm gonna divide by 8, divide by 8, and that's gonna give me 4 up top and 3 on the bottom, 4/3. All right, and then now we want to change that to a mixed number. So remember, put your 3 on the outside, your 4 on the inside. 3 can go into 4 one time. Then we're gonna say 1 times 3 gives me 3, subtract it out. And then we have a remainder of 1. So remember, the number at the top is the whole number. Whatever your remainder is the top of your fraction. And then whatever's on the outside is the bottom. All right, and this is how we convert from improper fractions to mixed numbers. All right, so we're gonna be left with 1 and 1/3, which everybody got right. That's great. You guys are doing great. I love it. So do we have any questions before we transition into subtraction? Which, by the way, is literally the same thing. It's just subtracting.
No.
No, everybody good? And if you're scared to speak up, you can send me like a private message if you have like an actual question, because I know how that can. All right, let's go into subtraction. All right, so subtraction. Let's say I have 4/5 2/3. All right, so I'm still gonna walk you guys through this process, because if you're using the butterfly method, there's one little caveat you have to watch when we're subtracting, but not like a big deal. All right, so same process. We're gonna say 5 times 3, which gives me 15. Gonna put that there. All right, and then we're gonna cross multiply. So we're gonna say 4 times 3, which gives me 12. Then we're gonna say 5 times 2. All right, so when we're doing subtraction, one thing you have to make sure you make note of is when we move our values that we multiply from the left to the right side, always put the larger value first. This test is like basic mathematics, so they're not going to put you in a situation to where like you're borrowing or you're left with like a negative fraction. That's just not how this test is designed. So you want to make sure that you make note that the larger number always goes first. Always, always, always. That's the only extra thing you have to watch when you're subtracting. Other than that, everything else is the same. All right, so please make note of that. And then we simplify. 12 minus 10 is 2. Bring over our 15. That can't be reduced any further, so we leave it just like that. All right, any questions? So before I give you guys a practice question.
No.
All right. All right, let's see. Practice question. All right, so y'all want an easy one, or y'all want like more of a easy, hard? Let me know.
A hard. Let's
hard
go for medium to hard.
Okay, let's do it then. Y'all real saucy today. All right, let's see. Let's give y'all some good numbers over here. Let's 8 nines minus 4 twelves. Let's see what you guys come up with. Oh, wait, and we had a question. Are there any math questions on the TEAS where they don't have a calculator available? So no, the calculator is available to you guys for the entire duration of the math portion. We have another question. Can we use scratch paper on the TEAS while doing? Yes. So scratch paper is going to be available to you as well. And if you test at home, they let you use your own scratch paper. All right, so I see everybody has the same answer, so let's hope that it is correct. So this is the perfect example of when people start using the butterfly method and then the numbers get real big and it's like, I don't really like it, but it's the same process. Same thing. All right, let's create our fraction. Let's multiply across the bottom. 9 times 12 is going to give me 108. Remember, process isn't changing. Numbers will change, but process won't change. All right, and then we are going to cross multiply where we have 2 values. So we're gonna say 8 times 12, which gives us 96. And then we're gonna say 9 and 4, which give us 36. All right, and then remember with subtraction, you always wanna write your larger number first. All right, so we have 96 and we have 36. All right, and then from here, we just simplify. So 96 minus 36 gives me 60 over 108. So remember, if you can make it here to 60 over 108, you can subtract fractions, right? If you can't make it beyond here, those are sub skills that you have to work on, all right? So don't beat yourself up about it. All right, so I'm looking at 60 and 108. So of course, I know those are both even numbers. So if you didn't know which values these numbers had in common, you could just keep dividing by 2 until you can't anymore. I mean, because we are on a time constraint, I'm not gonna do that. I know that 60 and 108 have 12 in common. So I can simplify by 12. So I can say 60 divided by 12, and I can say 108 divided by 12. All right, which is gonna give me 5 over 9. Yes, y'all a good bunch today. You guys are doing great. Do we have any questions so far? No? Okay. All right, so I did have a question. What if you're in a situation and you have a whole number minus a fraction? I don't think that you guys will actually see that for this test, but I'll still do it. So if we have 2 minus 4 fifths, right? Anytime you have a whole number and a fraction, you're just gonna make your whole number a fraction. That's all you're gonna do. So how do you make a whole number a fraction? You just put it over 1. And why do you do that? Because anytime you divide a value by 1, it doesn't change its value. All right, and then from here, we just use the same, now we're back in the same space. Multiply straight across the bottom to get a common denominator. And then you just cross multiply where you have 2 values. So normally when it's like a variation of something, it's like 1 extra step you have to do. But the main process, the way that we solve the problem, that doesn't change. 2 and 5 give me 10, and 1 and 4 give me 4. And then from here, we just plug in our values. So we say 10, 4. All right, 10 minus 4 gives me 6 over 5. And then we know the problem is that this is improper because the number at the top is bigger than the number at the bottom. So we have to change it to a mixed number. In this case, it'll be 1 and 1/5. And that's it. That's all. That's the answer. So anytime you have a whole number minus a fraction, or even if it's like plus a fraction, you just change the whole number to a fraction by putting it over 1. And then whatever process you use, if it's butterfly or if it's least common denominator, you can still do that. And you'll be good to go. All right, let's move into multiply fractions. So we're not gonna have time to touch on like mixed numbers and stuff today. So I'm just doing basic fractions, just so everybody can get an idea of how to do everything. All right, so if I have 1/2 times 8/11, right? When you multiply fractions, very simple. The only thing you're going to do is multiply straight across the top and multiply straight across the bottom. And that's it. Let's say 1 times 8 up top and 2 times 11 on the bottom. 1 and 8 give me 8. 2 and 11 give me 22. All right, those are both even numbers. So I know that I can reduce both of those by 2. And that's gonna give me 4/11. So one thing that people do, I don't teach it just because when people aren't like foundationally strong in math, when you add extra steps in between, it just makes it more confusing. But if you are well-versed in simplifying fractions, or like finding like common factors between numbers, then you can cross reduce, or you can just wait to the end. So cross reducing basically means that you can reduce your values down before you actually do the math, so you don't have to do it in the end. So what you do is you look diagonally at the values and you say, well, what do they have in common? Can I make them smaller? Can I divide them by the same number? So 1 and 11, of course, we can't do anything with those, but 2 and 8 are both even, right? So that means I can divide both of those values by 2. So if I say 2 divided by 2, that gives me 1. And if I say 8 divided by 2, that gives me 4. Now you don't have to cross reduce, but I know sometimes when people do it, if I don't say it, then they feel like, oh, should I not do it? No, you can still do it. I just don't teach it because sometimes it's confusing for people. All right, and then we just multiply straight across from there. Same thing.
I have a quick question. Sorry.
1 times 4 at the top, 1 second, 1 times 11 at the bottom. What's the question?
With cross reducing, is that only with multiplication?
No, you can cross reduce with all the fractions.
Okay, thank you.
Yep, you sure can. Oh, wait, hold on. Hold that thought for 2 seconds. Let me double check. Because now that I think I answered it too fast. I have close to 4 gives me Okay, no, scratch that. Only multiplication. Cause I just tried to do it addition, it didn't work.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe. You can do it with division too. Don't quote me on that. I know for sure multiplication, but not addition, subtraction. All right, do we have any questions about multiplying fractions? Nope. All right, let's get some practice questions up here. All right, 6/11 times 7, 12. All right, let's take a look at this question. We have 6/11 times 7, 12. So remember, anytime you guys are multiplying fractions, you are just going to multiply straight across. Straight across the top and straight across the bottom. We're gonna say 6 times 7 up top and 11 times 12 on the bottom. So 6 and 7 give me 42, and 11 and 12 give me 132. All right, so I know both of those numbers are even, so I can divide by 2. I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know the largest number by just looking at it. So I'm just gonna divide by 2. All right, 42 divided by 2 is gonna give me 21. And then 132 divided by 2 is going to give me 66. So 21 is odd and 66 is even. So I know I can't divide by 2, but I know by looking at them that I can reduce again by 3. And that just comes with practice. Again, you guys don't have to know how to do this extensively for this exam, just the basics of it. All right, and 21 divided by 3 gives me 7, and 66 divided by 3 gives me 22. And that's our final answer. Now let's go back and take a look at it. Say if you would have cross-reduced in the beginning. Would have saved us all that trouble in the end. So remember, when cross-reducing, you're looking diagonally at the values to say, hey, is there something that I can reduce by? So 7 and 11, I know they don't have anything in common, but 6 and 12 can both be reduced by 6. And when we say reduce by, that means you can just divide both of them by that. So 6 divided by 6 gives me 1, and 12 divided by 6 gives me 2.
So I stepped away from my computer for a minute. So for multiplication, you don't do the butterfly method. That's only for for addition and subtraction.
Correct.
Okay.
We multiply straight across the top. So we're going to say 1 times 7 up top and 11 times 2 on the bottom. All right, 1 and 7 give me 7, and 11 and 2 give me 22. So as you guys can see, cross-reducing in the beginning just saves you work in the end. And normally the numbers are so much smaller, so it's easier to reduce. But if you haven't mastered how to multiply fractions yet, don't worry about cross-reducing. Like, you need to make sure you know how to multiply fractions. And then if you want to go back and touch up on the cross-reducing skill, you can, because it just saves you in the end. But don't let it stress you out. Don't do that. Do I have any questions? No? All right. And then our last one is dividing fractions. So dividing fractions is really just like multiplying fractions. You just have that one extra little step you have to do. And then that's it. All right, so say if we have 1/2 times 2/3. 1/2 divided by 2/3. So anytime you guys are dividing fractions, you want to use this method, KCF, or keep change flip. What does that mean? It means that you keep the first fraction the same. Division is always going to change to multiplication, and then you're always going to flip the second fraction. And that's always with division. That's not going to change. So remember, process. How does this take place? It's not going to change. All right, and then from here, now we're back in the same boat that we were with multiplication. Same thing we just did. So you multiply straight across the top and straight across the bottom. So 1 times 3 up top and 2 times 2 on the bottom. 1 times 3 gives me 3, and 2 times 2 gives me 4. And 3, 4. That's it. So you see how the skills build on each other. If you're working out in the workbook, then you'll see that that's how it's designed for you to learn everything in a particular order. So as you progress, you can see how the topics are connected. So it's easier for you to retain. So anytime you guys are dividing fractions, keep, change, flip every time, like every time. Once you do that, now you just multiply fractions and you're good to go. That's it. That's all. That's how you do it. All right, so I'm going to give you guys an example. Five nines divided by 4 thirds. let's take a look at our last question. We have 5/9 divided by 4/3. So remember, anytime we are dealing with dividing fractions, we are going to KCF, keep, change, flip, right? So we keep our first fraction the same. You'll always change division to multiplication, and then you're going to flip the second fraction, right? And then from here, we're back in familiar territory. So we multiply straight across the top and straight across the bottom. So 5 times 3 gives me 15, and 9 times 4 gives me 36. All right, so I know that 15 and 36 both have 3 in common. So I can divide by 3. That's gonna give me 5/12. And that, my friends, is dividing fractions. So everything we did today was really surface level. The extension of these skills is definitely going to be in relation to mixed numbers. So once you learn how the process in terms of how to do the math with the basic fractions, you will have to transition into mixed numbers because it's a possibility that you guys could see that as well. Once you master the arithmetic of this, then that's when you need to transition into word problems. Don't work on word problems with fractions until you have mastered this process. I think that's where everybody tends to struggle the most, is because it's, oh, I don't know how to do word problems. And it's not that, it's just that you don't even have the foundational aspect first. So always master the arithmetic first and then transition into the actual word problems. So if you need extra practice with fractions, I have a review that I did. It's like 90+ minutes and includes everything fractions. So you can add, subtract, multiply, divide fractions as well. And then mixed numbers are included. So this includes like personalized notes that I made. And of course, it's a live tutorial that you follow along, and it's the review at the end, and it's on sale actually right now for $10. So if you need extra practice with fractions, this is the video that you can download. You can watch it as many times as you want, and the notes are personalized and they're yours to keep. All right, so make sure you guys check that out. And then of course, if you are just getting started or you need extra practice with math, make sure you check out my TEAS workbook, over 250 video tutorials included, over 1,700 practice questions included. It just gives you a number of opportunities to do what you need to do to pass the math portion of your TEAS test. All right, we have our holiday sale going on this week, so make sure you guys enjoy that. So do we have any questions? Do you have practice problems or word problems for sale? So the only thing that I have that actually includes word problems is gonna be the workbook. So you know what? The practice test edition is on sale this week for $15 for the holiday sale. Now, practice test edition is 5 full-length tests. So this is where the bulk of the word problems are going to come, and it includes 190 video tutorials. So basically every question you have in this book, it comes with a video tutorial. So this is where you want to be if you want more like direct practice that's designed more like the exam. The first book has like examples and practice questions and you transition, but this is just flat out practice mixed all together with all of the different topics. All right, so
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Regarding the book, because I'm not even gonna take my TEAS until the fall, but I'd rather start studying now. I want to know how often is it updated? Because I know the TEAS, they just updated to TEAS 7.
Normally they do it every 4 or 5.
Okay.
Yeah, so you'll be good. They don't update it for a while in between time.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Do we have any other questions? No? All right, so before we get out of here, let me show you guys how to navigate the Facebook group as well, because I know a lot of people join the group, but then they don't know how to utilize like all of the free resources that are in there. So let me show you guys how to do that. All right, so this is the TEAS group, right? So you'll know if you use like your phone or your tablet, this is what the top of it is gonna look like. So you see this search bar here, like you see this search bar here. So this search bar is gonna allow you to search for any topic. So it's almost 4 years worth of content here. So let's just say, for example, you see how we worked on fractions today? Let's just type in fractions. Anytime the word fractions has been mentioned in the group, you guys are going to see it. So see how last week we had a Jeopardy review and we did conversions between fractions, decimals, and percent. So Jeopardy reviews are always up for you guys to go back and look at. And it's just a Jeopardy style math review where people have the opportunity to win prizes. But the most important part is an actual review. All right, this is a question that somebody posted, and of course people answered there. This is a document that I uploaded here. So any type of document, which I'll show you guys under the files tab, you guys can click on those and you can save and download. This was a live tutorial that I did. It's an hour and 25 minutes long. So as you can see, all types of different questions on there. All right, this is a video tutorial from me. Video tutorial, 48 minutes, operations with fractions. So anything that you guys, look, video tutorial, adding 3 fractions. So any topic that you guys want to review for the exam, there's content here in the group and it's always available to you guys. So just make sure you're using the search bar, which is located at the top of the group. All right, another thing you would need to do is you see here where it says Files tab. So if you click on the Files tab, these are documents that I uploaded for free and you guys can save and download. And it has tons of free stuff, proportion word problems, TEAS math practice tests. We have reading notes. We have worksheets for English. We have notes for English. The Elizabeth Tran notes are my favorite for English, so I would highly recommend you guys head over to the Files tab, save and download those, because that tells you everything specifically that you need to learn for English. The T6 Science by Kelly, that's another great one. Tons of diagrams and things you guys need to know for A&P, kind of like smushed all together into one document. More stuff with math, more stuff with reading. I mean, so much good stuff in here. Good stuff that I actually handpicked myself. So make sure y'all head on over and save and download all that good stuff as well. So we said search bar, we did files tabs. I think that's pretty much it. I mean, of course, there's always tons of other stuff that I'm posting as well. And then one other thing I need you guys to do, if you haven't done so, please make sure you guys head on over to my YouTube channel and subscribe. I have tons of like stuff.
Hey, it's Jakar.
Tons. So we have shorts. I just uploaded a new playlist, which has like strategies for you guys to learn. So I tell you guys like the right resources, strategies, how to pass the 2 weeks, the new test versus the old test. These are like video tutorials you guys can see. This is the actual like review and video shortcuts, tons of stuff. And I have a playlist on here with like 14 videos that literally goes over everything you need to know for the exam. Make sure you guys head on over, search me up on YouTube and get that done. All right, so do we have any questions? Thank you. You guys are so welcome. It's good to have time to be able to help everybody. As a disclaimer, just to let y'all know, I know people always make it seem like the TEAS test is real hard, but it's really not that bad. If you prepare properly, like if you really take the time to invest in yourself and actually intentionally study, when you get to the test, you're gonna say it's not that bad. Everybody says that when they prepare properly. It's the people that try to cram and they're not really studying and they're the ones that's complaining about the test. And it's like, you didn't even do what you needed to do. You know, even if you do study a lot, make sure it's in line with your learning style and making sure that you're retaining the content, because you can study for hours and not learn anything. And you have to learn who you are and what works best for you. But I think you guys will be fine. Just invest the time and you will be good to go. All right, any questions before we get out of here? Because I think this is my last review until 2023. I know I'll do a Jeopardy review like next week, but it's my last Zoom review. Do we have any questions? No? All right, so make sure y'all head over to the website, grab some resources, check out all of those resources available in the Facebook group, and then of course, like and subscribe on my YouTube channel. So I will see you guys next year. Happy holidays to everyone. And I'll see you guys next